server, I can go ahead and work with this. Now, yesterday when we were working, I told that I will go ahead and if I'm doing a manual change, okay, there is where we stopped. So I told if we are doing a manual change, I will go and taint that application. So if I taint that application, what happens is it is nothing additional. It is just like you are marking that application and you're saying that in future, when Terraform will update that application, okay, you can first go ahead and delete that and then create a new one. So it is like, 1 second. One second. Okay. So let me log in first, okay? So this is my Terraform server. Take the IP address. Okay, so this is what it is. I will say EC2 minus user at the rate this much. Appearance, change the appearance. Go with the font size, auth, browse, and let me take this as my this thing. Let me become a root user and let me say this is host name is Terraform server. And again, sudo -. So what I told you is that if I'm creating an application, so let me say this is what we were dealing with that day. So here, if you see, I have created application like main.tf. So if I come here and say cat main.tf, I can see I'm creating few EC2 instances. In fact, 2 EC2 instances is what I'm going to create here. Count is 2, and I'm creating 2 EC2 instances. One is instance 1 and instance 2. But I'm saying that there are chances that somebody has manually changed the instance. So in case it has been manually changed, okay, so I had shown you this thing, that in case it has been manually changed, you can come here and say, first, let me just do a Terraform plan. AP South 1. Okay, so this is the instance which will get created, right? This is the instance which will get created. So if I go ahead and taint this application or mark this application, I will do something like this. Terraform taint and then the application. If I do something like this, what will happen is the state. Okay, so it's saying that the TF state file is say it has no resources, so you cannot taint it. So basically it is saying if you go to your terraform.tf state file, see here the resource is blank. So you can do something like this. You can say Terraform apply, okay, and I will auto approve. But I don't want 2 instances to get created. I only want 1 instance. Or let's go ahead with both of them. Later, I'll tell you what has to be done. So let me create 2 instances. And what I will do is I'll taint one of them, or I will mark one of them. Let it get created. So this is my first instance and this is the second instance. So I can see two instances got created here. Okay. And this is, it is saying two got created. So let me do one thing. Let me refresh this guy. So I can see first instance, second instance has been created. What I'm going to do here is I am going to delete one of them. So I will do something like this. I'm going to say something like this. So I'm tainting one of them or I'm marking one of them. See here. So it says one of your instance has been marked or tainted. This. Okay. Now, if I go to my tf state file, cat terraform tf state file, for instance one, you will see it has been tainted or it has been marked. And the benefit is that tomorrow, if I delete that instance, see here, this is my instance, private capacity managed resource. Let me go to the resource section. See here, the status says it has been tainted. Okay. And tomorrow, if I go ahead and delete this instance, okay, or if I say Terraform apply, or if I say auto approve Terraform apply auto approve. So what will happen? The instance which has been marked as tainted should get deleted and created, and new setup should be done. So you see here, the one which has been marked as tainted, that will always be replaced. Okay. See, this is getting destroyed. The other one simply got refreshed. There's no problem with the other one, but the second one is getting replaced. So that's the benefit. When you taint an application, when you mark an application, it will be recreated. And many times when you're working with a prod environment, you will see that this is very important. Okay. You can simply say, hey, what's the big deal? He's just tainting it and then he's recreating it. But many a times what will happen, that Terraform by default will simply modify the instance. Okay. And when it is simply modifying the instance, there are some manual things which are left. There are something in the code which is left. And in turn, it will give you a bug when you are running that application. Okay. So that's why I'm stressing a lot on this tainted thing. Now, let me go ahead and talk about another way of operating, which is called as a dynamic block. What is a dynamic block and how can I use it? So let me just come out here. I will say mkdir dynamic block. Now, what is dynamic block and what are we going to do here? So let me cd dynamic block. So let's come here. So you will be aware that there is a component called security group. And if I'm creating a security group, I will write something like this. So I will say nano main.tf. And this is my security group. So if you know what is security group, very good. If you don't know, then this is my security group. Whenever you create an instance, suppose you created this instance. So if you go to security section, you will see there is a security group. And if you go inside this security group, you will see n number of rules are here. So if you see, I have opened these many port numbers here. So if you are trying to open all of them one by one, you will have to write something like this. You have to come here and say, there is a security group, name is demosg, the tag is demosg, and the name is sample security group. And here I'm trying to open 8200 port number, and it is open to the entire world. So let me just do a Control X, Y, enter. and just come here and say Terraform init. Okay, it says configuration block is unclosed. Let's see where it is unclosed. Open. Okay, so let's close it here. So if I would have done a Terraform validate, should not have failed. Terraform validate. Missing required provider. Let me see what is missing. Okay. The resource section is only missing. Sorry, the provider section is missing. Why I'm saying resource section. Let me take. Let me say my region is AP South 1. Okay, so my provider is AWS. The region is AP South 1. Okay, and there I'm trying to create 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Let's do a Terraform init. So it will initialize my backend. And then Terraform plan. Sorry, or I can say validate also, just to see if everything is correct or not. Okay, so it says everything is okay. So now let me apply this. So I'll say Terraform. I will not plan. I will directly go and say auto proof. Okay. So basically, as an output of this, I should get my security group. So it is saying one item is going to get created. Why it is getting stuck? So it is saying one resource got created. So demo security group got created. Let me come here and check. So EC2, click on this. Here you can see security group. Let's see if this demo security group got created or not. Yes, I can see one demo security group got created. If I go to the inbound section, I can see that you have this rule added here. Let me just check now. Demo SG creation. This is the ID for this. Let me just take by ID. Okay. Sample SG. The name is sample SG. The name is sample SG. Okay. So I can see sample SG getting created here. And if I go inside this inbound rule, I can see this rule has been added. 8200. Now, but assume like this, I have to add 10 other rules, something like this. I have to add 8200. I have to add 8201, 8300, 9200, 9500. So like this, some 5 rules I have to add. Okay, let me add them. Nano main.tf. Let's give me 1 second. Control X, Y, enter. Just say Terraform apply -- auto approve. Let it run. I'll be back. Okay. Now, if you see, it says there is a modification which has to be done, and finally the modification has been done. Now, let me go back and check what modification has been done, because earlier only 8200 was there, but now I can see these many ports were added. So my work is done. There is no problem in the work being done. But do you see how many lines of code I have written? Just to make this small thing work, I approximately wrote some 42 lines of code. If I was using a dynamic block, the same thing could have been done dynamically, something like this. Okay. So if you see carefully, the same thing is happening. The resource is AWS security group. Here I'm giving the name as dynamic SG. Okay. Dynamic SG. I'm giving ingress rule. And in the ingress rule, I'm passing the values dynamically. So I'm saying dynamic ingress for each variable in SG underscore port. So the variable is declared here, SG underscore port, and this is a list. Okay. And each list is a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for each is a function in Python, which is nothing but a looping function. So every time it will come here, process it for this particular thing, then come here, process it for this particular thing, here, process it. So it will process the same thing 5 times. Now the benefit which I'm going to get is that the same piece of code, which was like 40 lines, 50 lines, can now be covered only in 10, 20 lines. Not only ingress, but egress can also be taken care. So when I say ingress, it is nothing but the inbound traffic, incoming traffic. When I say outbound traffic, this is egress or outgoing traffic. So let me show you that. So what I will do is I will simply come here and say Terraform destroy auto approve. So I'm going to destroy this entire thing, and then I'm going to dynamically write this entire content. This is destroyed. Let's go here, open our main.tf, delete this entire thing. Or I should have not deleted the first line, but it's okay. So whatever I have, I'm going to delete it. And this time I'm going to dynamically populate that using list variable. So let's go ahead and see how it works. Now, if you want, you can put everything at one place, like these variables. If you want, you can put it here only, or if you want, you can remove it from here and put it in the variables folder, your call. So let me say I'm going to remove it. And instead of that, I'm going to add this resource section here. So I'm saying provider is AWS and the region is AP South 1. So how to dynamically populate that, I've shown you AP South 1. In the here, I'm saying I'm going to create a resource with the name as AWS security group. Dynamic security group will be created. One is ingress, where the incoming traffic will be taken care of. The other one is egress, where the outgoing traffic will be taken care of. Here it is looking for a variable called SG underscore port, which I'll be declaring in the folder. And for every iteration, it will populate the value as port. Then port dot value will come and sit here. Control X, Y, enter. I will also go ahead and say variable dot pf. And in variable dot pf, I'll put this section here. Control X, Y, enter. Now, let's go ahead and try this. Terraform validate. Let's see whether it is correct or not correct. So it says it is correct. And just go ahead and say Terraform apply auto approve. So it is saying that this is getting created with the name as dynamic security group. And this is the ID. Let's take the ID, go back and check here. One second, it's saying no resource is matching. Okay, let's see what happened. Did I give the region correctly? Because according to this, it has been created. Okay, let me refresh this guy and check again. I can see this dynamic SG is there. And the most important thing here is that I can see in the outbound section, outbound rule, I have these 5 rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And similarly, in the inbound also, I have these 5 rules. Okay. Now, the only difference which I'm seeing here is that now I'm looping it. It is running in a loop and it is going and creating this security group for me. So if you see carefully, only this port range or only this thing is getting changed. Okay. Apart from other things are as it is. And that's the reason, rather than going ahead and writing such a big piece of code, we opted to write a small piece of code where I was able to say that, okay, this is guys my provider. This is what I'm going to create. And here, one block, and it is able to create, if it 5, 10, 20, 100, doesn't matter. This block will be capable of creating those many numbers of rules in the inbound and outbound. So this is called as dynamic. It is called dynamic block, where you go ahead and dynamically allocate the values. Okay. Now, very similar to this, you have one more block, which is known as data source. Okay. So if you remember last time when we started writing the code, we saw that our things are very much specific to a region. So what we did is we told that, okay, fine, let me go ahead and provide the region dynamically, and then we will run the code. Okay. So this time again, we will do something like this. Let me just take this guy, show you, and then I'll come back and take questions. And let me do one more thing. I will update this query here in my GitHub. Let me come here and say, I'm going to add a, sorry. So when you're practicing, this will become easy for you to take the code and practice. And I tried it for AP South 1. AP South AP. AP South 1. Okay. So this is my main.tf. So I'm just right here, updated main.tf commit. Similarly, I'll also go ahead and add one more file here and say variable.tf. Create new. Now, if you remember last time what we did, we created dynamic variables, okay, and we came ahead and defined these guys. these guys. But can you guarantee that this AMI will remain as it is? There are high chances that this AMI may change. So let me say I was running this code till 6 months, it is giving correct output. But all of a sudden you see that this AMI has been updated from Amazon's end. So this AMI is not going to give me the correct output. So in that case, what I will do is I will try to make this more dynamic. So when I say more dynamic, I don't want that I will give the name something like this. Rather, let me come here. Rather, I will do something called data source and show you how that becomes more dynamic. So let me clear all these guys. cd dot dot. This time I will say mkdir, and I'm going to create a dynamic block, block. This file exists. Dynamic block ex cd dynamic block ex. Here I'm going to create main.tf, and here I'm going to show you something new. If you want, you can change the region, that's not a problem. So let me just go ahead and change it only. The region is AP South 1. Okay. Now, if you see here, I'm going to create a resource called AWS instance. The name I have given is instance 1. Okay. If you want, we can add an output section here. Output. You can say AWS instance output. Value. So give me the output of this guy. Okay. And I will save. Okay. So if you see carefully, I'm creating an AWS instance, but the AMI, I'm not hard coding or picking it from a variable. I'm saying, go to the data section. In data section, you will see there is something called AWS AMI, AWS AMI. There is app underscore AMI, app underscore AMI, and whatever output you get from there, you put it and give it to me. And if you see here in this section, I'm trying to say that most recent is true, means always pick the latest content. The image which you are going to pull will be Amazon, the owner will be Amazon, and in the name, they will have something like this, Amazon AMI HVM star. So if I create a data source like this, or if I create a data block like this, I can ensure that always the latest Amazon Linux image is being picked up. In case you don't want Amazon Linux, you want Ubuntu, you give the owner as Ubuntu or whatever you want to pick. So by this, I can at least ensure that the AMI which I'm picking is always the latest AMI. Okay. Now let me just come here and say Terraform init. Then come here and say Terraform validate. And then finally, you can go ahead and say Terraform plan. Now, when you plan this, you will see that that dynamic block is working, and that dynamic block is picking the latest content for me. See here, it picked this particular content for me. Let me say I have changed something. I'm saying I don't want to run in AP South 1. I want to run in US East 1. From here. So if you see here, this is what has been picked up. Okay. So always what it is doing it is picking up the dynamic content. Okay. So the entire focus of writing the code is that the code must be as much dynamic as possible. Why? Because I want to make the code platform independent. There are high chances that today you are running on your local machine, but there are more chances that tomorrow when you are not there in the company or you are going to some other project, then they will run in a different way. They will run it on a different platform. So in that case, I will never ever want that my code is not dynamic. So a very good amount of focus is being spent on making the code dynamic. Main.pf, and this is the code which I am showing you right now. Okay, so today's content, there were two major things which I covered. One is data source, where I am no more being dependent on one particular AMI ID. Rather, I'm saying that I'll create a data source, kind of a function I will write. Based on that function, pick the latest AMI from AWS AMI list and give it to me. Second is dynamic block, where I'm saying the same piece of code, I don't want to write it multiple times. I will pass those values as a list and you pick those list one by one. Now, before taking your questions, I will just go with the last thing for the day. Now, many a times when you run your content, okay, you will see that this content is giving you some kind of error. Now, I don't know how to track that error, or if you see the error message, you will be able to understand, okay, this is the error, this is how I'm going to fix it. But assume that you are very new to this application and you don't know how to read the error message. So in that case, you can do something like this. So there is a global variable called tf log path. So you enable this tf log path. So the moment you enable this tf log path and you give the path, so in the temp folder with this name as tf terraform crash.log, all the logs will get generated and it will get stored here. So next time, whenever you run your command, the logs will go and sit here. So you can simply come here and say, I want to go to the temp folder. And there in the temp folder, as of now, you can see this is created. This is 0 as of now, nothing is there. But over a period of time, whatever logs will get generated, if there is some error or some success or whatever it is, it will go and sit here in this tf terraform crash.log. Okay, now I'll open it for questions. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead.
Good evening, Vikas.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I want to ask a question concerning the for loop. So if you did not list the port and you just put like a range, will it take it?
Can you repeat if I have not?
If you did not list the ports out, the ports.
Okay.
In the security group, and you just put like a range, you know, maybe you say like the range of 800 and then comma, maybe 9,000. Will it pick those?
Ideally should not.
Okay.
So
you must list those numbers that you want to be in the for loop, right?
Yeah. See, obviously done. So the question is here.
The security group.
Yes. Wait. I'll show you that. That's what I'm going.
Yeah. Dynamic security group.
So the question is that in this list, I've not provided
Yeah.
anything. Okay.
Yes, you now put it like a range.
Yeah. So you have not provided anything. So basically this list is empty. Now, the moment this list is empty, if some for loop will try to go and browse this, they will not get any entry. And simply it will come out of that loop. So that loop will never get executed.
Okay. So is it possible to do var.default, like put it in a variable?
So this thing also you want to put it as a variable is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's my second question.
Yes.
Can you put it in a
So
variable and say, okay,
you can do one
default
thing.
is...
You can do one thing.
Okay.
You can delete this entire line. Okay.
Okay.
And you run your code. So when you delete this entire line, while execution, they will ask you the values. So assume that you want to give 5 values. You can put it in a list and provide those 5 values.
Okay.
So it further becomes dynamic. You can go ahead and say, okay, run for this, don't run for this, something like that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, concerning the things, did you create the EC2 before you said it?
I did not get
The
your
things. No, when you were using the Terraform things. So
Terraform?
you have to create the EC2. Yeah, the things. T-A-I-N-T.
Taint. Yeah, correct. Terraform taint. Yeah.
Yeah. So you created the EC2 before you tainted it, right?
Yes. Because Terraform taint has to mark your instance as tainted. So for that, definitely that instance should be available. Else how it will work.
So taint is to delete it, right?
Taint is, you cannot say exactly it is to delete, but taint, you can take it like this. See, you first created the instance using a Terraform script. Then what you're doing is you have made some manual changes. Then again, you are going and saying that Terraform maintain it for me. So in that case, what will happen? One time you are updating using Terraform, the other time you're updating in manually, third time you are doing something else. So it creates confusion. Okay. So to avoid that confusion, whenever you do a manual change, we say go ahead and taint that application or mark that application that something has been changed manually. So next time when you ask Terraform to do the changes for you, Terraform, what it will do is it will delete everything. Okay. After deleting, it will recreate everything. So it is like, I want only my Terraform to manage everything for myself. If there are some manual changes, I don't want to entertain those manual changes. You can put it like this.
Okay. Okay. So in that case, can we use things when the example that you gave, like maybe some days ago, that somebody went into the AWS platform and then changed something on the EC2, maybe change the name or change the volume. So
Yes.
can you use things to correct
Yes,
that?
exactly. You can definitely use taint to correct that.
Oh, so it's not going to take the manual change, it will override the manual changes.
No, it will not take the manual changes. It will take your taint or whatever you have given here.
Okay, thank you.
Vikas?
Yeah.
Yeah, while specifying the port numbers, now from port and to port, what does it mean?
See, from port is like two-way traffic. Two-way traffic is the request will come and go. So both will happen here.
So we can specify both or one is enough?
No. See, if any traffic comes inside, at the end of the day, it should go outside also, right? See, let me say you have visited a park or a movie theater. So it should not be a one-way traffic that you came inside, but you don't have a way to go outside. So that should not happen.
So in that case, always the same port number for both?
Yes, both should be open.
Okay.
Because I got the question, it is possible to combine those two TF files to create firstly security group and then build instance using this security group?
Yes, definitely. Yes. In fact, the entire hard work which we are doing for that only, because at the end of the day, I would integrate everything together and run the script. So magically what will happen, everything will go ahead and get created. Okay. But in the background, I should know what is actually happening. So I'm slowly like step by step going, and one by one, I'm telling you, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. See, if it is just to run the script, I can simply say Terraform, apply, and then done. But then how will you know what happened in the background? So that's the reason I'm going step by step. So we will apply all these things in the coming class.
Okay. Yeah, I have a follow-up question based on what the other person asked. So this from ports and then so that is egress and ingress. So is it on? I think that is NACL, right? NACL,
Not
NACL
exactly
you have to-
NACL, that is security group. So NACL is something which is similar to this, but there are differences. NACL and security group are different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because you know when you are creating the EC2 manually, you only open the inbound, you don't open the outbound because
Correct.
it's
The stateless and stateful application. So I will
Yes.
tell you all those things, but for
Okay.
time being, just it is a security group.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, guys? So this Monday, we will not be having a class. I'll be traveling, so I will not be having class that day. So I would like to know from you that if you are able to understand things, you are able to connect, because down the line, I will just go ahead and assume that you know all these things, and I'll just go ahead and start running the script. But for you, you should understand that, okay, this is what is running, this is what is happening. When he's saying security group, he means that. When he's saying Grace, he means that. EC2 is this, AMI is this. So you should be able to understand all those things. So it's very important for you to practice. That is point number one. Okay. And the second point is practice. If you do not practice, then it will be like you'll be lost. You'll not be able to connect what's happening. So day one, what you did, day two, what you did. So all these things will be missed. Okay. So my humble request will be that please do practice on a daily basis. If not at least on a daily basis, then at least 2 days once you should practice. Is there anyone who is having any questions? Okay, fine. Then we can stop for today and we meet on Tuesday again. See you then, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.